Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and welcome into Nick at Night, one of the only videos I will actually post this late at night, but I figured I could get it out for you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and do it for this video. This video is a 10-team PPR mock draft from the second overall spot on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. If you guys want to check that out, you can. It's how you draft against the computer. It goes really fast. You can actually get a better idea of how your drafts are going to go, trying out multiple strategies really fast. So, in this video, it is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wideouts, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. In this video, we are going to be drafting up against, let's go with ESPN's pre-draft rankings for this one. If you guys do at any point end up enjoying, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below. It's free, and I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. So without further ado, let's get right into it. 10-team PPR mock draft from the second overall spot. And if you need additional help, check out the Patreon. All of my rankings are on there. Should be updated relatively soon due to all the Leonard Fournette AP news and all of that jazz. So let's get right into it. The 101 of the draft was Mr. Run CMC, Christian McCaffrey. So now we are up on the board, and it is our time to make a pick. It's pretty obvious. Christian McCaffrey pretty much gets picked every single time at the 101 without a doubt. It's either him or Saquon, and I'd say 95% of the time I see Christian McCaffrey come off the board in the 101 in real leagues. This is obviously a mock draft, but the computer drafts relatively the same as a person would, or it kind of matches it. So here, we're going to go with Saquon Barkley. To me, there's no doubt that Saquon Barkley would be the pick here. It's either Christian McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley is the number 1 guy, so the number 1-2 guy will be the exact same thing. I think that Saquon Barkley is going to have a fantastic year in New York. Obviously, last year he ended up suffering an injury, which did take his point total down, but at the end of the day, he was still playing very good in New York, and I think we see another amazing season out of Saquon Barkley. Clearly the number 2 back in fantasy football behind Christian McCaffrey, so there's not even a doubt in my mind that I would draft Saquon Barkley at the 102. I think you're foolish, honestly, if you're drafting anyone else besides him, in my opinion. I just think those two stand on a whole nother level ahead of the competition, at least in terms of safety. So after we went with Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott came out the board, followed by Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas, Derek Henry, Miles Sanders, Nick Chubb, CEH, Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler, Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins, and Tyreek the Free Kill. So pretty interesting that in the first round, only 1 wide receiver went. Now, this is a 10-team league, so it might not be all that surprising, but we do see in the second round 3 wide receivers go in a row. Normally you see around 1 to 3 wide receivers, I would say, go in the first round. And in the second round, you typically see a similar amount. And then the third, fourth, and fifth round is where you really start to see the wide receivers fall off the board. After those top tier, the upper echelon running backs end up coming off of the board. So looking at the running backs still available, that has appeared to have already happened. That's kind of one of my problems with drafting earlier in the first round, is when you're at the 102, the 101, the 102, or the 103, I find it a bit of a struggle to try to get another running back to match my running back with the second one. Inside of the second round, I often find myself leaning the way of 2 wide receivers when I'm at the first, second, or third pick of the draft. And that's exactly what we are going to end up doing here, but I don't really mind it at all. I think our team is still going to be very good regardless of how we end up drafting it. So here, Julio Jones is still available. Now, in a lot of leagues, Julio Jones will not be available at the end of the second round. Now, obviously, in this league, something had to have occurred to cause that, which was DeAndre Hopkins going ahead of him. Now, that could happen in a league and would not surprise me, but here, Julio Jones is the pick. Had Julio not been available, I would have went with Chris Godwin, Kenny Galladay, or DJ Moore at that pick, most likely, but those guys will 100% be there. I'm not too sure if Julio will be, but I love Julio Jones here inside of the second round. The guy's going to be very safe. He's on the most pass-heavy offense in the NFL. So I think we see Julio Jones have yet another amazing season where he, for some reason, can only find the end zone like 6 total times, because that's just Julio's job. Catch a zillion yards, catch a zillion balls, and only get like 4 to 6 goddamn touchdowns for some reason. So after we went ahead and drafted Mr. Julio as our second pick, our roster is comprised of Saquon Barkley and Julio Jones. After Julio, we saw Travis Kelce and Chris Carson come off the board. So we've only seen 1 tight end. Here, I think we see Mr. George Kittle come anywhere near here inside of the third round, and I think we're to see Lamar and Pat Mahomes go in the third round as well. I'd say those guys, the quarterbacks, typically go by the third and fourth round, and we typically see Kittle and Kelce go around the second and third round. So now it's time to make our pick here. Chris Godwin is still available, and that's going to be our pick. The running backs here, in my opinion, are too risky. I don't feel comfortable drafting Todd Gurley. I already have Julio Jones, but that's not why. It's because the team is going to be so pass heavy, like I just said with Julio Jones. So why are you going to believe in Todd Gurley, a guy whose knee is fucked up? I believe if they give him the correct workload to potentially be a running back one, he will get hurt. He has that arthritis knee. There's a reason why Sean McVay benched the guy in the Super Bowl. It was because he was not healthy enough to play in the Super Bowl. Had they have played a healthy Todd Gurley, they'd probably win the Super Bowl. But Todd Gurley is not the healthy guy anymore. He's constantly dealing with injuries, so I'm not drafting him here. I'm going wide receiver here. If Chris Godwin's not available, I'm going Allen Robinson, Kenny Golladay, or DJ Moore, or maybe his teammate Mike Evans, but I like Chris Godwin the most out of that group. So after we went ahead and drafted Chris Godwin there, I just felt like he was the best receiver available. I feel like with Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, he's really going to excel this season. So after we went with Godwin, Mike Evans came off the board, followed by George Kittle Me Timbers, Kenny Golladay, DJ Moore, Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, Amari Cooper, Juju Smith-Schuster, Cortland Sutton, Odell Beckham Jr., A.J. Brown, and Calvin Ridley. So we saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wide receivers go in a row. Now that's not very out of the ordinary because obviously it is kind of out of the ordinary. Normally someone will sprinkle a running back in the middle of that to ruin the huge run. But the reason why this happens is because so many people are going heavy on running back early, and then they're looking for the wide receivers in the 3rd and 4th round. And because the wide receiver position is so deep, they don't feel a need to look at the other running back position that is still there. So they just go ahead and hammer on the wide receiver. So that makes a lot of sense. Out of those picks, nothing too out of the ordinary picks I did like. Love Golladay, love DJ Moore, love Allen Robinson. I like Adam Thielen. I don't like Amari Cooper at all. The guy's hot and he's cold sometimes. Cortland Sutton is a guy that I'm kind of moving slightly more up on, but I don't like him in the 4th round. I feel like there's too much competition over there in Denver. I'd much prefer drafting a guy like Calvin Ridley or A.J. Brown ahead of him, or Cooper Kupp, or Mr. Robert Woods, who are both still available. We obviously saw the 2 quarterbacks come off the board, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Like I said, very typical to happen inside of the 4th round. If they don't go in the 2nd or 3rd, you typically never see either of those guys escape the 4th round. So now it is our pick here, obviously. Now looking at the running backs, it is still a goddamn hellhole here. You're still taking huge risks here, so I think I'd much rather just hop onto the wide receiver train. Now, you guys know me. I'm very heavy about getting the running back positions early. I'm very heavy about finishing your draft with a shit ton of running backs, but if the value's just not there, if you just don't want to draft a guy like James Conner, now I'm fine drafting James Conner. I just don't think the value is right there. I'd much rather draft a guy like Robert Woods, a guy like Cooper Kupp, a guy like Terry McLaurin ahead of them, and then inside of the 5th round, take my pick at one of those riskier kind of guys like Bell, Connor, Gordon. So I'm just going to go ahead and snag one of those wide receivers. I think inside of the 5th round, we will be able to find a running back that I'm somewhat comfortable with. So with that said, we are going to go wide receiver with this pick to really bolster that wide receiver core and start hammering in on these kind of riskier running backs early in or later in the draft, obviously. So now it is our time to go wide receiver. To me, I like Robert Woods the most out of this group. Will not argue if you go Cooper Kupp here, though. Will not argue at all. I think both of these LA Rams wide receivers have potential to finish inside of the top 12 or maybe even the top 10 at the position. So I won't argue that way, but I do prefer Robert Woods due to the fact that deep down the stretch of the season, after they committed to the 2 tight end set, Robert Woods was tearing it up and Cooper Kupp was not looking so hot. So after we went ahead and drafted Mr. Bobby Trees, we can see that I think Melvin Gordon came off the board, followed by Tyler Lockett. So here, we may actually go tight end, but I don't think we can do that because then the running backs, it's just a complete and utter shit show after that. Sure, there's guys I like, but not guys that I feel super comfortable starting as my running back too. Mark Andrews obviously could be a very good pick here considering he fell into the 5th round. Typically, he goes around the 4th round based on ADP and all the drafts that I have done. So here, it's really between James Conner, Le'Veon Bell, and Jonathan Taylor here. If you want to be safe, Le'Veon Bell's the pick, in my opinion. If you want to take a medium risk, you go Jonathan Taylor. If you want to be the riskiest, you go James Conner. James Conner, all these guys have a shit ton of upside. Jonathan Taylor as my RB2 is not something I love due to the fact that I don't feel comfortable starting him the first couple of weeks. I think it will take a couple of weeks for him to emerge and become that running back one, the bell cow back for the Indianapolis Colts. So I would rather kind of detract there and maybe not pick him here and go with the safer guy in Le'Veon Bell. Now, I know the New York Football Jets are not the hottest team to have your running back on. I understand that, but Le'Veon Bell last year was absolute dog shit. People are hating him because they drafted him in the 1st round, and then he completely bent you over and fucked you sideways. So now you hate Le'Veon Bell. But in reality, he did screw you sideways, but he still finished as a top 20 running back, and he's going to do it again. without a doubt in my mind, he's going to be able to do that again. So I like Le'Veon Bell this year. Can't be worse than last year. Can't be less efficient than that. I think he's better. The guy looks absolutely goddamn jacked, and being jacked obviously moves up your fantasy ranks to me, not actually, but I just think this guy is in shape. He's ready to roll for the New York Football Jets, and he's trying to prove himself to the haters that he is still the guy for the New York Football Jets. So now we're probably going to hop back on the running back train, like I said, unless it's very obvious that a wide receiver is still available that I like. Even then, I'd probably still hop on the running back train because I just feel like I need to load up on that position. So after we went ahead and drafted Le'Veon Bell, Jonathan Taylor came off the board, followed by Cooper Kupp, Mark Andrews, Zach Ertz, James Conner, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, and Devin Singletary, followed by Darren Waller, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Dakota Prescott, T.Y. Hilton, David Montgomery, Terry McLaurin, and Russell Wilson. So after we saw Mahomes and Lamar Jackson go off the board, there was a one-round discrepancy between the other four guys. Now, once you see this happen, this is going to happen so many times in leagues. Someone drafts a quarterback, right? They draft like one of those second-tier guys. Maybe it's Watson. Maybe it's Dak. Maybe it's Wilson. Maybe it's Kyler. And then instantly, or maybe a couple picks away, people start to panic. They're thinking, holy shit, I'm not going to be able to get X quarterback, Kyler Murray. I'm not going to be able to get Dak in the next round. I have to pick him. And then it happens 3 different times because then people are getting even more nervous and they hop on the run. Now, your running back and wide receiver value is supreme due to the fact that people are drafting quarterbacks. So don't hop on the run. Don't just panic pick Josh Allen. Don't just panic pick Matt Ryan because you don't think you're going to get a quarterback in the next round. Just go ahead and draft on the value, get that running back, get that wide receiver, and hop back on the quarterback train later when no one's taking them and they're trying to pick up the slack on the running back and wide receiver. So if you guys have enjoyed this video thus far, please make sure to click that subscribe button down below. I post multiple times every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. So now it's time to probably draft a wide receiver here. Even with what I said of me wanting to get another running back, I just don't feel comfortable drafting Leonard Fournette here. I know he's going to get picked next, and I feel perfectly fine in the 7th round drafting another guy when I feel like DJ Chark has so much upside and is a guy that I could 100% flip for a running back once we see him absolutely blow the back out of these defenses because he's the only guy now on the team. They got rid of Lenny Fournette. He's the clear option on every single play for the ball to go to him. I just feel like he's going to be so involved now that Leonard Fournette is gone that even with the other wide receivers there, I'm not too worried about it. I think DJ Chark is going to have a fantastic year. So I'm going to draft him here. Typically, I'd go running back. But hey, we're trying out different strategies for these drafts. And I think that this may be a good one. And our team may be looking a fucking one like the steak sauce. And we come back and the running backs are all still there. So after we drafted that, Keenan Allen came off the board as well as Matt Ryan. So someone else shit their pants and ended up drafting a quarterback. Now your 7th round pick here is brought to you by Manscaped.com. The best place or to find anything to shave your junk downstairs. They have the Lawnmower 3.0. That thing is A1. It has a flashlight on it so you can shave down there in the dark. You can shave your nuts literally in pitch goddamn black. So make sure you check that out. And also, if you want to have the freshest balls in your league, you want that shit to smell fuego, get the ball deodorant. I got it. Let me tell you, it smells great. So make sure to check out Manscaped.com. Use code Notorious at checkout for 20% off as well as free shipping. So we are going to go ahead and make our 7th round pick brought to you by them. Shout out to Manscaped. So now we're getting a running back. Now here is where you have to make a choice between risk and safety. You drafted 2 running backs already. You already have Saquon and Le'Veon Bell. Now, do you want to take the risk and draft Leonard Fournette, who could be good a couple of weeks in? Or do you want to be safe and draft Kareem Hunt, who could be good, who could be really good if Nick Chubb got hurt, or could just be an average player that you throw in your RB2 and you feel pretty comfortable with? That's the decision you have to make here. So let me know down below in the comments. Are you guys drafting Lenny Fournette, Uncle Lenny, or are you drafting Kareem Hunt of the Cleveland Browns? I'm going to try to stay safe here, and I'm going to draft Kareem Hunt. I will take my risks a couple rounds later here, probably just next round from now. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Kareem Hunt here. Now, Leonard Fournette, his ADP is so confusing. In some leagues, he'll probably go in the 4th round. In other leagues, he'll go in like the 10th round because no one has a true gauge of how Leonard Fournette will play, considering Bruce Arians is going out there and telling all the media, oh my God, it's Ronald Jones' backfield still. How the fuck is it Ronald Jones' backfield if you bought Leonard Fournette in? It's going to be a split, a double-headed monster that is going to make you want to hang yourself from the goddamn ceiling a couple of weeks in, but I think Lenny Fournette is good enough to escape, to break free, to be soaring, and to be flying. So after we drafted Kareem Hunt, Raheem Mostert came out the board, who is one of my least favorite running backs. He is stuck in what we call a running back by committee. Now, he could be the number 1 guy. his ADP has fallen significantly. He was a guy that was going in like the 4th and 5th round. I don't like him there. In the 7th round, I will draft him, so I won't actually get mad at this pick. But just so you know, if you're drafting him early, be a bit wary. After that, we see Ronald Jones, DK Metcalf, Mark Ingram, who I don't like, Jarvis Landry, Kerryon Johnson, who doesn't make sense drafting him above any of these other guys, Devontae Parker, Tom Brady, Stephon Diggs, Phillip Lindsay, Jordan Howard, AJ Green, J.K. Dobbins, Zach Moss, Tariq Cohen, and Michael Gallup. So now we are going to have to hop back on the running back or wide receiver train, depending here. I'm not really looking quarterback. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams already have a quarterback. One team without. Interesting how a team named Game of Throws does not have a quarterback. Haha, Nick, you're so funny. I know. So, we're not going quarterback here. We could go wide receiver, but I think we're going to go running back. And I think here, if Leonard Fournette's not available, you draft James White. Antonio Gibson is now going to be drafted so high. I would not be surprised if he was drafted inside like the 6th round of drafts. Now, that's too high for Antonio Gibson, but the 8th round's a good price to play for the guy who could be the running back 1 of the Washington football team. And I think I'm actually going to take that risk over Leonard Fournette. I think he could actually legitimately be the running back 1 there. Now, it may take a couple of weeks for him to surpass Bryce Love, but I think it's Antonio Gibson's season, and you better believe I'm drafting his ass here inside of the 8th round. So now we're up at the 9th round. A couple of guys went, obviously, in between our picks, which is Tyler, Boyd, and Will Fuller. So we're going to hop back on the running back train. I feel very confident with the 4 wide receivers that we have drafted so far, enough to draft on the running back train. So if Fournette's not there, we're going James White, but we're taking a risk again. We're drafting Leonard Fournette, who could legitimately be a running back 1 a couple of weeks into the season. Do I think that'll happen? No, but that's the upside you get when drafting Mr. Leonard Fournette of a team that legitimately might be one of the best teams in football with such a star-studded roster in Tampa Bay. So after we went ahead and drafted Leonard Fournette, Hollywood Brown, followed by Tevin Coleman, Deebo Samuel, Matt Breida, Marvin Jones, Brandon Cooks, Deontay Johnson, Julian Edelman, and his teammate James White going back-to-back Michael Jordan, 96-97. Woo! Jamison Crowder, Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, Darrell Henderson, Alexander Madison, Christian Kirk, and Golden Tate. Some picks I love back here. I'm starting to get on the Deebo train. I think I'm going to buy my ticket, fucking shove it straight into the machine, because I think I bought it on Deebo. I think when he comes back, he's going to tear it up. And I think he might not miss as much time as I initially believed. So I like him. Love Marvin Jones. Love Deontay Johnson. Love Julian Edelman. A bunch of amazing picks there. Not a huge fan of Christian Kirk, but I do see the upside as him being the wide receiver 2 on the team and being much better when he doesn't have to be the 1. Like last year, obviously Fitzgerald is the 1 last year, but he's really not. Christian Kirk was, and I think that as the wide receiver 2 of the team, Christian Kirk, that might be his true spot, and that is the wide receiver 1, which could actually make him better. So now back onto the wide receiver train here, and then we're probably going to draft a quarterback and then a tight end here. So first, we're going to go ahead and snag Mr. Johnny B. Nah, I don't really want John Brown. I like John Brown, but I think the other guys have more upside. So here, we're going to do a pick I don't normally do. We're going to go with CeeDee Lamb, Dallas Cowboys wide receiver. Now, this is a guy that on any given week could be the wide receiver 1, in my opinion, of the Dallas Cowboys. Could score the most points on the Dallas Cowboys team at the wide receiver position. Now, other weeks we're going to start him, and he's going to completely suck major be absolutely garbage because Amari Cooper scores and then Michael Gallup scores, and then there's just not enough targets for CeeDee Lamb. But that's a risk you have to take in the 10th round, and I'll happily take that risk with a wide receiver drafted inside of the 1st round on a team that is a very high-flying offense. So now we're going to go ahead and probably snag another, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. So our final pick of the draft is going to be another running back, and we're going to hop on the Rock Armstead train. Now, he is on the COVID-19 IR. He is. So Chris Thompson may end up being the better pick by the end of the year, but fuck it. I think when he comes back, he'll be the lead role. Maybe it will be stolen, though, by then. You honestly just never know with this corona stuff. I have no idea how fast he's going to be able to come back. Will it be 10 days? Is it 14 days? I don't know. Hopefully soon enough. Probably won't play week 1, though. So after we drafted Rocky Rock Armstead, Robbie Anderson came off the board, followed by Marlon Mack, Carson Wentz, Preston Williams, Tyler Higbee, John Brown, Henry Ruggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Josh Allen, Hunter Henry, Jared Cook, Tony Pollard, Damian Harris, Drew Brees, Curtis Samuel, and Rob Gronkowski. So these assholes are taking 2 quarterbacks. We're probably going to have to take ours in the next round. Let's see, actually, wait. Team 1 does have a quarterback. They do have a tight end as well. So I'll go tight end here to make sure I secure my boy Hayden Hurst of the Atlanta Falcons. This guy is literally going to be a top 5 tight end in my opinion. This guy is going to butt fuck defenses. He's getting the ball so often in Atlanta because Atlanta loves to use the tight end. They love to throw the ball. So why not draft the guy that's on a team that loves to throw the ball, where they love to throw the ball to the tight end, who is a tight end? Last year, Austin Hooper almost saw 100 targets in 13 games. 13 games, 1-3, like Dan Marino almost scored, was almost a top 3 tight end, was literally like one of the best tight ends in fantasy football when he was healthy. So I'm going to go ahead and take a stab at him. Now for quarterback with our final pick that actually means something for our defense and kicker, we're going to go ahead and snag Matty Snapback of the Detroit Lions. Love him late. I think he has a whole lot of upside and could finish as a maybe even a top 8 quarterback like he was looking at last season. The guy was on fire, muy fuego. The guy was balling out of control, but then he ends up getting hurt. So I think with a healthy Matt Stafford, we can really see an amazing year this season. After with Matty Snapback, Adrian Peterson came off the board, who has been cut. Do not draft him no more. Justin Jackson, A.J. Dillon, McCole Hardman, Boston Scott, Sony Michel, Naheem Hines, and Keyshawn Vaughn. Bunch of defenses in the 14th round. Somehow no one picked a defense in like the 9th round, which is going to happen in your league. Just so you know, someone's going to bound to do it. So everyone draft the defense. So I get a kicker, Harrison Butker the fucker, my number 1 ranked kicker, and then we are on to pick a defense. So the Saints come as well as Justin Tucker the fucker. So now we got to draft the defense, playing a shitty offense week 1, or an offense that I don't believe will score or do all that well week 1. Chargers play the Bengals. Joe Burrow in his first ever game in the NFL. Now our team got an A+. Huge round of applause. This is a 100 out of 100. This is not a 98. This is a 100. This team is a goddamn 1. So, looking at our team to recap: quarterback Matthew Stafford, our running backs are Saquon Barkley and Le'Veon Bell. Our wide receivers are Julio Jones and Chris Godwin. Our tight end is Hayden Hurst. Our flex is Roberto Woods, Bobby Trees. Our defense is the Chargers. Our kicker is Harrison Butker. Our bench is comprised of Baby Shark, Baby Shark, Kareem Hunt, Antonio Gibson, Leonard Fournette, CeeDee Lamb, and Rock Armstead. So thank you guys all for watching. You made it this far. Give yourself a huge round of applause. I love you. I appreciate you. While you are still here, click on the button on your screen that gives you the subscribe button. Go down below. Check out Manscaped, 20% off, as well as free shipping. And check out the Patreon for the draft guide that will probably be updated in the morning. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. And I'll see you motherfuckers tomorrow with some more content. Good boy.